All right. Hello and welcome to the Masonic Roundtable, usually a weekly hangout where Masons from around the world get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social manner. The standard disclaimer applies. The thoughts and opinions expressed here are solely those of the participants and do not represent any Grand Lodge statements or opinions. Usually we have questions solicited via Facebook and Twitter, but this is the unplugged version, the acoustic version of TMR, so we will actually have a live audience tonight. Let me hear some cheers.
Yeah! So yes, tonight we are soliciting questions and comments from you, not the ones watching it, but you out in the audience, and we can't be happier to be a part of the first annual Masonic Educational Symposium out at Wilmington Lodge number 804. This is a fantastic event. It's been a great day, and we're excited that we get to cap it off.
Yeah.
Also, inevitably, there will be questions that we might not get a chance to answer. And if you're watching the video on YouTube or listening to the podcast, make sure to also put your 2 cents into the conversation, because like we will be discussing, this is something that goes beyond now. Other brothers for days to come will listen and can benefit from the questions that you might have. So if you're watching on YouTube, comment below, or if you are listening through iTunes, give us a thumbs up and rating, and you can put your questions there as well.
And we'll try to answer anybody who comments on it in the future. We've been pretty good at doing that to our peril, so we'll keep that up.
Great. Usually we have 5 panelists, but we'll go around and do quick introductions. My name is John Ruark. I'm the past master of the Patriot Lodge, number 1957, in Fairfax, Virginia. We did a long drive up this morning with my fellow carpooler, Jason Richards.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jason Richards, and I'm the Senior Deacon of Acacia Lodge number 16 in Clifton, Virginia.
And I am Juan Sepulveda, a member of Yola Lodge number 207, Free and Accepted Masons in Orlando, Florida.
Excellent. Also at this time, we go right into Masonic news. Any Masonic news this week that's worth mentioning?
Yes.
Really?
Actually, we have something very special for you tonight, because you all are the first to get your hands on one of these. This is a lovely bookmark, hand-designed by Brother Juan, front and back. And this is part of our brand new initiative called the Spark Light Movement. Masons love education. They love to read. And they love more than anything else to tell others their opinions about education and what they read. So we wanted to come up with a quick and easy way to connect brethren and their opinions about their favorite sources of Masonic light to everybody else. So our goal here with these bookmarks is to say, you all take these and put them in your favorite Masonic book. And then what you'll do is you'll upload a picture of that book with the bookmark and an explanation of why that book has meant so much to you. And we can do that on our website, themasonicroundtable.com. And what'll happen is, from all of those feeds of everybody's favorite Masonic educational resources, we can connect everybody with new sources of light, and we can actually spark further light within each other. So we're very, very excited about this, to the point where when we have people start doing this, we are actually going to do a random drawing every couple of months. And one person will actually receive one of our favorite books. We will actually send that out to you with a good explanation, or at least an explanation, of why that book means so much to us and how it's helped us individually in our journey in the Masonic experience. So you all are the very first to get this new initiative, and we hope that it'll spark a lot of discussion. We hope that you will find some amazing Masonic educational resources because of it. And we just hope that it'll catch on like wildfire, and that you guys will have a great time with it.
All right.
The other Masonic news, of course, is the first annual Masonic Educational Symposium happening right here in Wilmington, and that's where we're taping live. It was a success.
It was a great day.
It was a very
Fantastic.
It was a lot of fun. We discussed a lot of things that normally we wouldn't on a normal setting. Here we were very open that the people that were here were very interested in Masonic education. So we brought forth topics and discussion that related to supporting that movement forward of Masonic education. And we will speak more to that in the content of this discussion as well.
So before we go any further, we have to give a special thank you to the Brethren of Wilmington Lodge number 804, specifically Brother Sean Gorley, who just did everything to make this happen. And he is the reason why everyone is here, and he is the reason why everyone has been so edified today.
Yeah.
And this edification, I think, will continue on with Mr. Gorley's very capable hands.
Absolutely. All right. Good. With that, the topic we chose for tonight, given this, we are at a Masonic Educational Symposium, is Masonic education. Woo! In the 21st century.
Yes.
As some of you know, this idea of the roundtable came about because we had technology available to try this out. We never had to get the right authorizations or mother may I's, and really, we're trying to give back. We're trying to give back some of the education that we've learned, but we're seeing a trend. We're seeing a trend that education is changing, especially Masonic education. These brothers are searching for more light. They're just thirsting for knowledge, and the traditional ways are not always the most efficient ways, especially in the age we live in. And so, really, wanted to open it up to see what trends do you see. What are some of the lessons learned from things like we're doing, things like symposiums are doing, some pitfalls, some highlights, and anything else that we need to address. With that, I'll open the floor.
Well, I think first off, the most marked difference is like you mentioned, the technology we have available. I did a presentation at Patriot Lodge last night on the United Grand Lodge of England University Scheme, which is an initiative that they founded back 9 years ago to attract younger university-age members to the fraternity. And one of their biggest pushes was website, technology, new ways of providing education that young Masons or young people who want to be Masons around the world can actively seek out and actively obtain. And that is not education that you get passed down from your lodge mentor anymore. It's very, very different in today's environment.
Now, this is a test for me. Let's see if I was listening. When you gave it, you said that as part of to accept the university scheme, that it was required to have a website.
Yes.
It wasn't an optional thing for a lodge to not have a website.
You must have a website that has easily understandable information on how someone can become a Mason and what the Masonic fraternity is.
That's sponsored all the way up at the United Grand Lodge of England level.
It is.
Yeah, so
Yes.
there's a movement there. We can talk about Facebook and all these other social sites as well, but that's a step forward, right? It's at least a line in the sand to say this is the bare minimum we'll accept, so that's good.
If nothing else, it shows that various Masonic leaders across the entire world are becoming much more open to experimentation with technology in order to reach the generation today. And I'm not just talking about young Masons or young men today. Anybody who is living in this computer age, whether they're 15 or 50, is going to be looking to technology for education.
If you look at the different lodges, of course, it sounds scary to some of the lodge leaders of putting together a website. And there might have been some hesitation because, well, they don't know if they need permission or what do they need to do in order to put together a website. And here you have the utmost authority, of sorts in Masonry saying, if you don't have one, you can't be part of this program. It's like we recognize and we're acknowledging that this is an essential tool for you to communicate with today's Mason. Therefore, it's a requirement. So hopefully some lodges are able to get motivated and break from that resistance and put together websites that are going to help them bring members to their individual lodges and hopefully to the membership to the whole fraternity as a whole.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to add too, I think most of us on the roundtable especially fall under the under 35 age or thereabouts.
For 3 days.
For 3 days.
He's
okay.
old.
So you got 3 more days. And I guess technically, depending on which book you read, it really falls into more the millennials and the Generation Y, the net generation. I've done a lot of reading on those generational things, and Eric Diamond's actually done a really good Ex Oriente podcast, which covers the generational differences in the craft. If you haven't heard that, put in the show notes. And
We will, whenever we actually get this
whenever
up on
this
the
comes
website.
up, hopefully this post will still be there. But he does cover the different generations that are either have entered Freemasonry or just entering Freemasonry, and how they just think differently, and some of the culture clashes that can come with that, just from an age difference and an experiential thing. But I've read a lot about our generation, the net generation. I read a really good book called Grown Up Digital by Don Tapscott. He's written a couple other books like Wikinomics and a couple other things. But when I read his book called Grown Up Digital, it was almost autobiographical when I was reading it, because I said, wow, you know, I really do relate with a lot of what he's saying. And what he basically said was a lot of those stereotypes of the ADD generation really are not true, and he backs them up with actually facts and studies and a lot of data to show that. But he kind of puts some caveats that basically our generation thinks differently. We are wired differently. Because let's talk about generations, right? Generational differences really come from their formative years, right? So as you're, maturing into a young adult, right? What events going around you in your world affect, as a general blanket statement, right? A stereotype to that generation, some of their ideals or principles, their ethics and morals. And he covers a lot in the book about the net generation. That this is the 9/11 generation. These are the folks that have always known a time with war, that have always had 1,000 channels on TV, that have grown up with the internet. It's not been an add-on to their years. They've come out of the womb with an iPhone, right? And so one thing that I like that he said is he's kind of caveated all those things into 8 norms, he called them, for this generation. And I think we can look at some of those and see how education applies to that generation coming in. So the 8 norms are freedom, customization, scrutiny, integrity, collaboration, entertainment, speed, and innovation. Let's talk just a little bit about those. I'm not going to belabor the thought, but freedom. These are people that they travel around jobs. No longer are you sitting in the same job for the rest of, one job you came in, 40 years later you retire at. That loyalty there is gone. Customization. First thing we do whenever we open up, our laptop or whatever is change the wallpaper. We tweak this and we add that. We make whatever that product is ours. So shouldn't we also be doing that with Freemason? Scrutiny. Because of all the 24/7 news channels, because of all the plethora of information that we have to put filters on. And so we have to scrutinize the information we're getting, even in large. Integrity. If you're not pure and authentic, we'll bail on you. And we see that with brands. We see that even, a couple weeks ago that I've seen some things where some brands, like Coke and Pepsi and that kind of thing, would put some tweets out that just didn't sound right according to what was going on in the news, and people will have backlash on that, so much that they will stop buying that product. So that's what we mean by integrity. And so we need that face of Masonry to also have integrity and be true, not be, we're gonna cheapen it to make these guys come in. Collaboration. We're the collaborative generation. We're the social generation, right? We chat on Facebook. I've met a lot of these guys for the first time in real life, or I've already known them as a friend and brother way before then. Entertainment, speed, innovation. These are all things that we're the instant gratification. It's not so much ADD, but if I can't get the answer now, if I need to know, well, what is a hecatome? And you don't know, you better quickly have an answer for me, because either I'm going to go find it myself, or, I'm not interested anymore. Mm-hmm. So thanks for, kind of walking through those, but I see a lot of those patterns in how I approach issues, how I tackle problems. Just another example of that is, now they've got a new toy to play with. So one of the things that this generation coming in or growing up with can easily just do this and say, okay, Google, what is Freemasonry? And now they have an answer right on the wrist. And they have an answer before. They don't have to pick up the phone. They don't have to know a Mason. right away they can get the answer. So I'll shut up and pass it on.
No, it makes me think, you know, we look, and I think it happens in every generation. Every generation has this either technological or social shift that is foreign to them, but for that generation that's coming up, that's their normal. So you will have resistance, and we've seen, of course, resistance with the whole internet. You know, I have this love-hate relationship with how easy it is to access information. And you've heard me say it many times. Yeah, to have an inquisitive mind in Masonry, it's beautiful, you know. But if you're a candidate, if you're someone that is not a Mason yet, just pace yourself. Don't try to dig too deep and try to find all the answers and all the things, because you're just cheating yourself out of a life experience. You know, it would be as if, you know, your wife or your girlfriend tells you, I want to go watch a movie. Let's go to the theater. Okay. And then you go instantly and log on and read all the critics and read all the synopses and
Wikipedia.
yeah, and then read, and then you know the whole story. You know what's
I do that.
and I do that, man.
My wife hates it.
You know, for me, I try not to. I want to know what's the premise of the story. You know, does it align with what I like? If so, I'm gonna try it. The same thing should be with Freemasonry, even though this is a more solid long-term commitment. But get a synopsis. What is it about? You know, here's a set of a system of morality. You know, how good is that? Well, it helps you become a better man by taking these ancient lessons that are as true now as they were, you know, 1,000 years ago, and make you a better person. Well, I can sign up for that. And then you take a step and knock at the door and ask to be admitted. But on you know, having that free access, now you are the gatekeeper. Now there's no gatekeeper anymore. You know, you're the one that needs to, you know, keep your search under control, and once you're in, consider your sources.
But you know, the flip side of that too is there was a good video posted from one of the previous Conference of Grandmasters where the gentleman, I forget his name, we'll find that as well, basically talks to the Conference of Grandmasters and says, look, the guys coming in nowadays know more about not only Freemasonry, but the degrees themselves than you do. So how do you handle that? How do you you know, when they're going to have so much more knowledge because they have access to it instantly. What do you do when you don't have the answer for everything they're looking for?
Well, that brings up another challenge with today's information age. As Brother Adam T. Osmond mentioned in his presentation today, you know, not everything readily available on the internet is a verified, valid source, especially when it comes to social media and blogs. And if we have candidates who are not getting the answers that they need at the speed at which they require them, if they go on the internet, you know, they could end up getting all sorts of misinformation.
Right.
And all sorts of things that cast the fraternity in a very different light from reality. So the question is, how can we as Masons in the fraternity provide education even to the people who are interested in joining the fraternity, even the profanes as we call them, so that they are satiated to the point where they at least know where to go to look for the answers, and before they go and look in the wrong place.
Yeah. So yeah, I think definitely with the onset of technology, you know, that we had a lot of growth with the blogosphere, which is how, you know, Nick Johnson really got popular with his Millennial Freemason blog. I think blogging's kind of gone to the wayside. I mean, there's the next big thing. You need to go where the people are, especially with Facebook and that kind of thing. Now that's going to be ancient, you know, in a couple of years. But it's really, we have to come to them and we have to put that face on, right? That, again, because there's so many other bad sources, it's taken upon ourselves to be out there where the crowds are, where we're expecting the next generation to be, because you can't be just within these four walls and expect them to come to us.
But that's only one side of the problem. Well, you can go ahead.
No, that you can go ahead.
Okay.
It's gonna take you somewhere.
This happens all the time. One quick detour. It's just one side of the issue. We need to be putting forth educational programs and opportunities that appear to the diverse nature, or that appeal to the diverse nature of Masonry as we know it today. It is not enough just for us to work on educating our candidates and the new Masons coming in. We need to provide a happy medium of education that is innovative and comprehensive, but not off-putting to the senior members in the lodge, those members that have been sitting in that same chair for 60 years. We need to make sure that we are providing something that panders also to their sensibilities, pushing them maybe a little bit outside of their comfort zone, but not too much to the point where they just shut down completely. There's a gentleman at work who's a boss who says, you know what, in order to make people change, you must make them uncomfortable. The problem is, if you make them too uncomfortable, they shut down completely, won't listen to a thing you say. So it's all a delicate balance.
And part of that comfort of people embracing these technological changes is understanding that the aim is not to change Masonry as we know it.
Right.
And we're not trying to change Masonry, but the vehicle and the effectiveness through which we communicate Freemasonry, that's where the change is happening. And yeah, of course, I'm sure there were people uncomfortable whenever, the telephone came of age. And no, you can't be talking over the phone about Masonry, or it's not an effective way for you to get people to come to lodge. We're not changing Masonry. These are just instruments through which we can deliver lessons.
So you said we have new working tools.
That's right.
New working tools and a steadily growing cadre of information-thirsty members. And so, everybody talks about how Masonry is declining. I think Masonry is actually in a very enviable position right now. Base numbers aside, we have a tremendous opportunity to reach a lot of people and geek out as much as possible.
Yeah, right. So I think I'll say one last comment. We'll probably open it up to the floor then. But that's why we created the Spark Light campaign, is that it's a physical bookmark, which means you got to have a physical book to put it in. It won't stick in the Kindle, right? Because we know that there's a wealth of knowledge already in your lodge library. And let's not forget that there's a wealth of information. A lot of the stuff is still in print. We still have young Masonic authors that are putting their sweat and tears into these books, and so we've got to support that. It's great information. Books aren't going away, despite having webcasts and hangouts. That definitely that's where the primary sources are. So we want to encourage that keep going with that campaign. So I don't know if you wanted to start the recording over on the laptop.
Yep.
So we can
I'll do that real quick, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Anything you want to add?
No, I also about the Sparking Light campaign. We wanted to also get from you, what are your favorite books? Like, what are you actually reading out there?
Yeah.
We might be missing out on a great source of Masonic education, and you actually taking that bookmark and putting it on your book and sharing that picture with us helps us also tell other people what sources are out there.
Yeah, we did a book club episode about a month or so ago, and we just ran out of time because there's so many awesome books that we had. We all kind of went around and shared our favorite book, but that's just what we happened to stumble across in our lifetime, and we want to hear what your favorite ones are.
So, and we're ready to go.
All right, question
Brother Al.
first.
Yes, good evening. This topic of Masonic education and awareness is just overwhelming us today. And one of the thoughts that I wanted to talk about is that in 1917, Albert Mackey, in his encyclopedia, indicated on pages 333 to 336, he went into great detail, admonishing the would-be investigators or research individuals to be careful in establishing the validity of what it is they're trying to to talk about and to express. And he goes on it for three pages. It's just, and he is alarmed in 1917 by the proliferation of would-be scholars that are making these generalistic statements about who we are and where we came from based on emotions and not on facts. That is the first thing that comes to my attention when we start talking about being researchers or wanting to delve into who we are. The other one is on a lecture site that I have put together. I solicited the past Grand Master of Masons of Japan by the name of Yashu Lishu, and he has a presentation on the critical reading of Masonic literature. The critical reading being not any different than if you were giving a testimony in court. You would look for the truth, nothing but the truth. So help you God. And that's what you repeat. And that would be the thought that I would give to any one out there in the world who is wanting to delve into our fraternity. We love your excitement, we love your energies, but we want you to delve in the truth and be careful of what you say. As the French would say, you know, the French have a great way of flourishing things with extraordinary amounts of language, but we have to be very, 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 very careful to not mislead anyone. Not that I'm all that concerned about people who might want to say that we're delving in fantasy or in fiction, because we're not in fiction. I just wanted to offer those thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that.
presentation.
If anybody has a question, please do you approach the microphone so that we
It can be about anything. It doesn't have to be about Masonic education in general.
All right, as far as books, I would say Claudia's The Master's Handbook. Everything else is great, but that's an essential part. You can read that dozens of times, and it'll always be helpful for anybody even just not the master. Prior to you guys doing what you're doing here, the only way that I'm aware of where Masons were able to collaborate from different areas of the country or the world, or maybe where grandmasters would get together and share ideas. But really, now you can be a Mason and not just a grandmaster, and be able to collaborate through a soundboard like you guys are sharing here from all over the country or all over the world. What would be, or have you guys seen or gotten experience from different Masons as to what their main concerns would be that are common, or differences from different Masons throughout different areas of the country or the world?
I think the first thing that we could talk about is the advent of virtual lodges. And we actually got to sit in Castle Island Virtual Lodge under the Grand Lodge of Manitoba a month or two ago. And we talked a little bit then about the concerns about, you know, providing educational programs, tiled Masonic educational programs in a virtual setting where brethren are like, well, anybody could listen in. You have to tile your own basement. And I think one of the things that we mentioned there is, well, you know, people could eavesdrop in the lodge as well.
Exactly.
I mean, it's walls are walls. And, as long as you do your due diligence and every member does such, you know, that part of technology I think is not a concern.
Right. And that's really so bleeding edge right now, which is a good thing, especially because we learned that it was really due to the effort of Grand Masters in Canada that actually made that happen. It wasn't, you know, if it had been a grassroots campaign, it would have been very tough, I believe. But also the downfalls too is, to your point, we're also getting private messages from people saying, thank you for doing the show, because we would never be able to do that. Really? Yeah, our Grand Lodge has so many restrictions on, you know, you're not allowed to have a Facebook page for your lodge. Really? Absolutely. And so, you know, we live in the information age, and there's a good quote that I'm going to paraphrase, but basically, ignorance is a choice in the information age. For Masonic education, ignorance is a choice in the information age. Next question.
Good evening, gentlemen. For those of you watching, this is Sean Gorley, and I won't comment on my promotion.
Yeah.
We love you, Sean.
Thanks, guys.
We haven't read it yet, but we love it.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
It's an awesome book, awesome book. But first off, I wanted to thank you guys for coming here today. It's a true honor to have you closing up the day's events. And my remarks and questions for you guys are stemming from today's events. Without a doubt, this thing went off without a hitch. It was a fantastic day. We had a great crowd, had lots of guys show up, and the most important part to me was the guys that showed up were guys that wanted to be here. Now, going forward with this, let's say for other lodges that are interested in doing this, number one, I would highly recommend doing it if you can. Today was hands down a fantastic day, and I'd like to see it pop up more. But as far as getting attendance up for these types of events, do you guys have any ideas what may work, what may not work? Have you seen anything in your experience that can kind of up that, and other than just perseverance and doing it year after year after year, building upon it?
I have some thoughts about it. We did as much as we could. We tried to, in different outlets, share the event and let people know what's going to happen. Part of, in my opinion, part of the resistance is going to stem from people not really knowing what this is, not really having an idea of how it would go. I'm sure that when these brothers go home and they tell the brothers that missed this, you should have been there because they talked about this and they said this and I never knew about this other thing. And man, next time you gotta come. That is gonna be more powerful than us three, mentioning it before. In addition, we are building these relationships. This is something just like with the Winding Stairs and with the Masonic Roundtable. We started in the audience. If we had expected that initial audience to be high, we would have been very disappointed. Because just like anything else, this is something that's progressive. It just takes one step after the other. And you guys are lucky because you were able to be there on the very first annual Masonic Educational Symposium. And you were the ones that now...
Branding.
Yeah, branding. Yeah, that's another thing. It's very important to brand, if I may say so myself. But now you guys are part of that beginning, and you're going to want to share that with other brothers. And not just because I participated in it and we participated in it. It was really good, and I'm being very honest,
Back to the shameless promotion.
Exactly. Now, around the same time next year, hopefully this continues and it fulfills the prophecy of calling it annual, right? And then we are going to have a bigger crowd. And I guarantee you, if the benefit that the brothers get from the first interaction is positive, the second interaction is going to come with more people. Just like we've seen in the Masonic Roundtable, where we've had month after month of growth, non-stop since we started.
So I do have the opposite problem that I've seen with some other things too. Like last year was my year in the East. I had the good pleasure of having that. We had great speakers like S. Brent Morris come and Chris Hodat, and I was surprised that although I distributed out to the official email districts all around the area, in our Northern Virginia area, we only had enough for like the normal lodge meeting. Show up to see S. Brent Morris, who's been on TV and everything, and I just found it very odd that despite kind of shotgunning that out, it still didn't elicit a great response. And I think it's just, again, like you said, building it up. Don't have high expectations first, but it'll pay off dividends afterwards.
But at the same time, you can't just kind of have a great event and then just kind of let go and let everybody forget about it. The key is, as Juan has mentioned, is building relationships. But those relationships need to be sustainable relationships. And that comes from communication. So, we drum up business, as it were, for Masonic Roundtable events because we actively communicate throughout those relationships that we've built virtually and physically. And so if you keep saying, hey, you know, we are in the initial planning stages for next year, and you give sequential updates so that everybody, you know, keeps it in the back of their mind, they can better plan for it, because as Masons, we're all busy. A lot of us are in, you know, 30 different appendant bodies, because they're, you know, you can only be a Mason to be in an appendant body, and there are fewer Masons today than there were. So the key is getting something that's very positive, which is what you've done today, and keeping that in everybody's mind and continuing to build out those relationships and hope for the best.
Don't add to that too. Back to the integrity thing. One of those key norms that if you're not, you know, legit about it, if your heart's not in it, people are going to know right away, and they're just going to blow it off. So be real. You know, take it for what it is. Show them that you're really honest about whatever initiative you're doing.
Yeah, and that's also coupled with loyalty.
Yeah.
The way in which you foster relationships in any place, with your wife, with your friends, with your family, with anybody, is that you're contributing to them before any contribution is asked for in return. And that's and we'll talk more marketing, you and I, offline, but if you think about it, that's what happens. That's what we do. You know, with the Winding Stairs, I put a lot of hours into putting an episode out. You know, people think because it's a 30-minute episode that I just sat down and I pressed record. There's a lot that happens.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
Yes, but we do a week's worth of research
That's
up
true.
to it and copious amounts of show notes.
That's right. So it's when that happens, I'm contributing to someone's journey in Masonry. When we do this, that's what we're doing. We're helping brothers. We're giving them something of value that they can take back to their lodge and share with the brothers. Those brothers are going to be excited about it too. It's like, what is this Masonic Roundtable you're talking about? Did you really hear all that stuff there? And then before you know it, the audience continues to grow. But the relationship with you is one in which they're receiving so much value that whenever it's your turn to say, brothers, I'm putting something out and I need your help, people won't think about it twice. They'll show up and they'll come support you and do that.
And I hope you brothers don't mind, I kind of set you up on that question. I'm not on camera, you guys are. I kind of had to figure that was going to be your answer, but I hope everybody out there that's watching this episode when it comes out really pay attention to what those gentlemen just said, because it's this year, it's exactly what I've experienced, and it works. And yes, absolutely, pay attention, because we're doing this again next year. We'll start planning here after the first of the year. Got a couple of guys booked already, and I'm not going to release their names just yet, but there are going to be some good ones. There are going to be some good ones. So thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
We will continue to shamelessly plug it.
Got probably time for,
Self-promotion again.
probably got time for one or two more questions. Yeah. And then we'll start to wrap up.
I have a question about the generation gap, on how you guys feel where you have your basic old heads to the newer guys, how do you feel about guys that come in about tattoos, piercings? They just look completely different than what everybody's used to.
You know what I call them? Brothers.
Yes, absolutely.
That's all I can say. I mean, that's it.
I heard him say bridging the gap. Branding.
Branding.
Now, the reason why I ask is there's a lot of, like we heard earlier today, where everybody has an opinion, where you wouldn't believe how many looks a person could get when they walk into a lodge room and they got door knockers hanging on their ears, and they just get they feel like they're out of place. So that's why I asked.
Yeah, I want to give you a personal example. I went to speak at a lodge, and I have a very good relationship with the master. The master knows who I am. We've known each other for a long time. The brethren of the lodge, they didn't. Now, I had some problems with my vehicle where I didn't have air conditioning, and I had to make a long trip to get to the lodge. And I was bringing my art to share with the brothers. So I knew that once I arrived at the place, I was going to have to spend some time going back and forth, loading my art for the exhibition, at the end of the presentation. And of course, I wasn't gonna have my nice, suit and tie and everything when I'm gonna be driving for a while and I'm gonna be unloading art into a venue.
See the wrist is going.
Yeah. So
He was sweaty.
yeah, and I look nice, shiny every now and then, but the thing is that I got there early, so I wasn't dressed appropriately for lunch. Anybody who was there early was. So the way in which a couple of brothers looked at me, they were like, okay, why? Because then when they introduced me and said, this is the brother that's going to be speaking tonight. I would see in their face, there's no way this man is going to speak like this in this lunch. And
That's funny. I thought you were going to wear
they thought I was going to speak
just
like
what
that.
you drove in.
So the funny thing, I recognize it, and I have no shame. I said, brother, don't worry, I'm gonna change before I speak. So calm down. And you can see the relief in their minds. But it was that judgment before knowing, which it's dangerous. But if brothers can pay attention to that we do that unconsciously at times. And I don't know if it's a defense mechanism, what's the psychology behind it, I don't understand it. But if we're conscious about the fact that you had to ask the question and that I had that happen to me, shows that it's happening everywhere.
It's true.
Now, how do you bridge that gap? You give those brothers an opportunity to really get to know you. Today I've had the privilege of getting to know you and speak with you, and I know where your heart's at. It doesn't matter if you have knockers in your ears or if you have all kinds of piercings. You should see this guy. We're going to put pictures of him. We're going to put pictures of him.
Show notes.
In the show notes.
He's
so,
like a member of the Cure.
Yeah. We're going to blur it all too. But we got to see where your heart is, and you're here in an event that's about Masonic education. That says a lot about you. So.
And if nothing else, taking some time to try to get to know the brethren just a little bit better, if nothing else, will remind them that it is the internal and not the external qualifications of the man that makes you a great man and a wonderful brother.
Hit that home, absolutely.
And if people can't see through that, then you find the people who can, and
Dare I say, change lives.
Mm-hmm.
Really, that's what it comes down to, that Freemasonry is dying so fast, we can't afford to have that closed-mindedness anymore.
I disagree, but
Yeah, that's a full episode. Right there.
yes, that's another episode.
But then there's one more thing I wanted to tell you. You know that this will happen to you again. You will go to a lodge and you'll find someone that's going to look at you in that way. Now, you've made a conscious decision of what your appearance is, and you're fine with it, and you're happy with it, and we love you the way you are. But these brothers don't know you. So the
It's just that first
responsibility,
impression, right?
yeah, and the responsibility now is in your hands to not allow that to remain that way. So here, the bridging of the gap is in your hands. It's for you to give them an opportunity to really see who you are. You see, don't let them go home with that preconceived notion of who you are, because they don't know you. You don't. Then it's in your hands. You don't let them. Before they leave, you speak with them. You shake their hands, look in their eye, and let them see what you let us see today.
Yeah, we had a couple. I think that reminds me back to Charles Harper's presentation about arresting your prejudices.
Yeah.
You know what? Break down those preconceived notions.
That's very true.
Well, I have done that. I do that on occasion, so you can ask any brother that knows me. Yeah, opinions, everybody has one, and I don't ever hold a grudge against anyone. So I'll walk up to you, even if you give me a funny look and say, hey, how you doing? And I'll actually give you the funny look too, like, hey, huh?
And the thing is, that's amazing, and that's the kind of warmth and engagement that we so desperately need in this organization. So I hope you keep doing that, because if someone else isn't going to extend you that bridge of friendship, sadly it is part of your obligation to extend that to them first. And it's a shame, but if you come out with a couple more friends because of a little extra effort, I think it's well worth it.
Oh yeah, look, tonight was a prime example. I've made a lot of new friends, and happy to have met everyone that I've met tonight, and hope to look forward to seeing you guys in the future on it too.
Likewise.
Yeah, and again, I told you this before, your earrings rock.
Oh.
I love those things. One more.
We can do one more. Richard?
Richard. It's like we couldn't close.
Dancing out of his seat.
Oh, no, we talk about you and your comments just about every episode, bro.
Yes. One thing that I found a bit disappointing for myself is that I have a Facebook page and also a group for our lodge, and I think I have one member of our lodge other than myself that's on it. I talk about it at our meetings and try to encourage the members of the lodge to at least look at it, and I promote you guys' show on there, and I don't know what it would take to break through, to get through to these people, to at least just take a peek at it, and they might find something very enjoyable and contribute.
Sometimes nothing will.
Yeah, you can lead a horse to water.
You know,
And then you can trail
I
it.
think John and I have gone to a number of lodges where we
Under
just
the Grand Lodge of Virginia.
yes, we have a great show, and it's a lot of fun, and it's an experiment in Masonic education. And we think you all should check it out. And they're like,
Internet? What is that?
and honestly, again, if you try to push people out of their comfort zone too much, they'll shut down. They won't hear a word you say. So you really just have to pick your battles, and perhaps you can try to do some half measures to get them a little bit more interested in technology, like baby steps, almost like doing Facebook updates, but perhaps in email form. You know, not several times a day, but you could try doing a weekly email to your lodge brothers to say, hey, here's some cool things that are going on out in cyberspace, and by the way, if you're interested in seeing more of this, check out our Facebook page. That might be just the little nudge that it'll take to get some of those people a little more comfortable.
So you
with
say that's like
technology.
bridging the gap, is that right?
Bridging the gap.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
what I would call it.
Yes, absolutely.
One other idea that I had was, being that I'll be master next year, and I think we do have the funds available, is to get the internet at the lodge and a computer and the screen or whatever, so that if I can get them at least to watch some of the things, get them in on a practice night or another night.
I'm seeing that happen a lot
Yeah.
over our way.
And,
More and more lodges are putting
Mhm.
Wi-Fi in the lodge room to do exactly that, mostly for the presentations.
Mhm.
And I think that's a great idea.
I think once we break through that barrier and they see what they've been missing, we'll get a lot more interested in participating in this great new technology that we have available.
I mean, we thought about doing this like as a truly live show streaming on YouTube, but that would require Wi-Fi in the building, right? We just figured statistically that it probably wouldn't be, so that's why we're doing this all. I guess we should start wrapping up, doing shameless plugs and all that fun stuff, so let's go down to the end. Jason.
All right. Thank you all so much for coming out. Thank you all for listening and watching us after the fact. We are so thankful that each and every one of you are here listening to what we have to say. Please, please, please give us feedback. Let us know what you liked. Let us know what you didn't.
What you want to hear.
Let us know what you want to hear. And let us know what we can do to make the show better. Because if we're not talking about things that real men and real Masons are interested in, then why are we talking at all? Outside of the fact that John loves to hear the sound of his voice.
That's a great idea.
Yes, absolutely. So my name is Jason Richards. I've got a blog, The 2-Foot Ruler, Masonry in Plain Language. I promise there will be updates at some point in time. For those of you who don't know, the 2-Foot Ruler is, of course, a play off of one of the working tools, and it is my attempt to break the complex ideas and issues surrounding Masonry into easily understandable, easily digestible forms. Because you ask a Mason, you know, what is the fraternity? And you'll get 3 different answers, none of which make any sort of sense. Because it is a deeply philosophical institution, and I found it's very difficult to get a straight answer. So that's just my own personal experiment to try to break things down into the lowest common denominator. So outside of that, my final thoughts on education is it's very difficult to overeducate. People are here because they took the initiative to ask. They took the initiative to learn their catechisms, to go through these degrees. They have a hunger for knowledge and a hunger for what we provide. It's very difficult to overeducate and give them too much of what they would want, seemingly strictly from just the petitioning and the process for going through the degrees.
What?
Well, again, thank you for watching and listening to the program. As you know, we love Masonry and we love what we do. We love to learn about Masonry and to share what we learn with you. And that doesn't mean that we know it all. It's whenever we hear from you, whenever you let us know what you think, what you like, what you don't like, that helps us have a better program and a better experience. Coming here to Wilmington has been a very, very fun experience. We've learned a lot. And we can't wait to do it again. About Masonic education, Masonic education is going to look completely different in 50 years than it does today. And the sooner that we have peace with that thought and we start embracing the change that's inevitably going to happen, the more efficient we're going to be at it, and the more it's going to be about the education and not about the vehicle in which it's delivered. So I encourage you to, even if you're not comfortable with Twitter, check it out.
Try it out.
See if it's your cup of tea. If you're in, if you're into blogs, if you're into podcasts, if you don't know what a podcast is, because you're watching this on video, let us know. We'll help you out. It's very convenient for you to have Masonic education on the go. You can be in your car. You can be doing the yard, dishes. It doesn't matter. You will be connected to that desire to become a better man and Mason.
And Juan, you did lie back there a little bit. I have to out you in this. You said none of us knows everything. I do believe truly that Nick Johnson
Yes, that's true.
knows everything.
You're going to say you, but no, I agree.
No, not me. So sad he couldn't be here today, but I'll shut up now.
No, and also in the Masonic Roundtable we have Nick Johnson and we have Robert Johnson. It's a couple.
No relation.
Oh, no, not a couple. And we missed them today, but hopefully you can listen to other episodes and check them out so you can see what they are. They're a wealth of knowledge, also passionate about the craft. And if you want to learn more about what I do, you can go to freemasonryart.com where you can see my Masonic art collection and custom aprons, as well as Masonic education on the go through thewindingstairs.com. And thank you again.
As for my final thoughts, I think just to build on what Juan said, what I've heard also tonight, is that 21st century Masonic education is asynchronous, meaning they won't get it necessarily in lodge. They'll get it at 2 in the morning when they're up feeding their 5-week-old. They'll get it on the ride into work via podcast. They'll get it through video. They'll get it through virtual reality. I mean, there's going to be so many different medias that they don't have to come to lodge anymore to get Masonic education. So consider that when you go forward. With that, the only shameless plug I'll do is for the 2nd annual Masonic Research Symposium here at Wilmington 804. So I'm looking forward to that, already a year away. With that, thanks for watching and keep searching for more light.